can you please introduce yourself?
Sure.
Tell us where you are and what you do.
Okay, I'm Stan Kurtz. I'm in Simi Valley, California, and I help people heal from illnesses that they typically cannot heal from. And actually remove traumas and get people into their hearts.
And what is your company called?
Quantum technology.
Quantum technology.
Mm-hmm.
So the main question I want to start by asking you is, do you recognize God? Do you recognize God?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you see God as a father?
That's a good question.
Or as a parent?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that. That's the closest thing, if I was to define it as a family member or as a, I would say, sure, absolutely. Yeah. You know, in my view of things, I'm responsible for this little world and everything else is his responsibility. So yeah, so I would say it's similar to a parent, but maybe even bigger than that.
Even bigger.
Yeah.
So if you recognize God as a parent, do you see yourself as a child of God?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Now, if you see yourself as a child of God, do you also recognize everyone else as a child of God?
100%. We're all connected to the same place.
Awesome. Now, as a parent, I know you've got a son, and I know that when your son had autism, you went and spoke to God.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And so I believe that you're a man of faith. Because you don't go and speak to an invisible being unless you have some level of faith.
Yes.
Would you say that your faith is what has allowed you to do what you do and to reach the level you've reached?
Yes. And the issue with my son, in a way, is what connected me to faith. So I've always been spiritual in general. I had people telling me, you're very spiritual. I didn't even know what it was in the early days, kind of thing. But when I was working on my son and he was in a point of where he wasn't going as planned in my mind, that's when I had to start talking to God. You know, it was like, hey, if you help him and we get to the goal that we want to get to, then I will take care of whoever you put in front of me. So that is, you know, that was like my first sort of commitment, like real commitment. That came from a place of my love for my son. And I think the legitimacy of what I was trying to do, for the reason I was trying to do it, with through love, and my commitment was believed. That's when my son recovered, and that's why everyone that is put in front of me, I treat as if they are my son. I enjoy playing a role in service that comes out with great outcomes that help people. So I think that's recorded, and I think that there are benefits. I think we get higher level challenges and higher level results that come from doing that. But I think everyone serves. So when somebody comes in and they're, you know, in their traumas and they're outside of their faith, which really I just look at as, if you are in fear in any way, you're outside of your faith. You know, fear and those types of feelings will sort of delineate when you're in and when you're out. So it's like the contrast of knowing where you are. And I get highly religious people to come in here and they'll share their pains and traumas, and I go, oh, okay, so now we've learned where the line of faith is for you. Of, I want to see how far I can get. I want to see what can happen through listening to wisdom and being in the presence of truth. And in my experience, I've never been happier. I've never been able to help more people in my life than being in a place where I don't find fear anymore. I only find that everything has always been okay. Everything will always be okay. So that's no longer my business. That's in God's hands anyway. I'm just a dude in a chair. That's it. I'm a dude in a chair talking to a friend right now who's teaching a class. That's my simple my simple purpose in life. And when I just do those things, I feel like there's always truth that's available, and that's my connection to God. And in this simple way of living, and it doesn't matter, like we've got a room full of people over there that I'm working on, but I'm able to sit in this chair and enjoy this discussion and see my friend smiling, nodding behind the camera as you should turn around and see him. It's so adorable. You know, I get to be in my heart. I'm not, there's no worry. Like this life is amazing, you know, inside of the bounds of what we're describing as living in faith. So yeah, I'm interested in testing how far and how and what we can create, understanding how this thing works, and I'm having a good time.
Spiritual or religious?
Well, first off, I was born Jewish, or I was born into a family of that faith kind of thing. I've never really connected. The cultural part of it, I think, is interesting. I think, you know, any cultures, any religions are interesting to study. They're interesting to hang out with and all that. But I find flaws across all religions. You know, it's like there's human flaws inside the religions. And because of that, I have to discount all of it. Because I'm a truth seeker. I follow truth. So if I'm reading a Bible or the Torah and it says that, you know, people that are gay are an abomination, I'm like, I don't think God's that. It doesn't make any sense to me. And if he is, I'm not so sure I'm totally on board with that. So if I see that and it doesn't align with what I feel truth is, then I have to discount it, and that just to be in my own integrity. So I'm definitely spiritual according to what people are saying and my understanding of it. And I don't feel attached to any religion, but I'm really open too at the same time.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like if a religion aligns with what is spirituality or common sense in this case, then I might align with it, but I don't have anything I align with, but I can appreciate it, you know, and I can love my brothers and sisters in it, because it doesn't matter what they think, believe, or do. You know, I know that they're connected to the same place. I've seen this. I've seen the fiber optic energy from each individual going up into this beautiful pool of source. You know, I've been sort of revealed those things, and it all makes sense to me. And if it makes sense, and if it feels right in my heart, and there's zero stress around it, then that's the kind of thing I would believe. So yeah, it would be nice if there was a religion that had everything in the text that made sense, because as a kid I often said I wish I had an instruction manual for humans, because there's so many weird things going on here. I remember saying that in the early days. Today I feel like I keep getting revealed that instruction manual like crazy, and it's really just being in awareness and faith and in truth that I see that. So my religion, if it's anything, is truth, and it's one that I define for myself. And I think that's probably more of a definition of spirituality than anything else, because I don't think spirituality is this group that determines whether or not you're a good spiritualist or not based on how you define it yourself. It's like if you're living as a good person and you're watching signs and seeing, you know, what's going on and curious and ask good questions, suddenly you're spiritual. People are telling you that. The other way, it's like you have to believe in this whole thing. And if there's a human that wrote it, there's an intention. And if there's an intention and there's motive, you're not necessarily going to find the truth. So until there's a human that is living in full truth, creating a religion, you know, I don't believe that you're gonna nail it in any one religion. And I don't know many. So that's just an opinion until we prove it otherwise.
Do you have a message that you would like to share to the young people around the world who are going to see this interview?
I really empathize for anyone wherever they're at. You know, we're all on a path, regardless or not. I think at some point, no matter where you are, you're going to want to look for something that feels better. You're going to want to find something bigger and happier. And I would just say, be open to the idea that everything here is actually inside a plan, that we are just, we're just a stitch in a rug. And it's okay to be a stitch in a rug and be a really good stitch and know that there's other stitches and live a more simple life. In my experience, if you're in somebody else's business or you're in God's business, you will suffer. you know, trying to get people to like you, trying to get people to understand you, trying to convince other people of your thinking. This is a life that's very, very hard. And I think when you find, you know, your spirituality, your spiritual place, and understanding that your business is the only business to really be concerned about, and everything else is happening inside a plan. All these people are connected to the same place, and they have their own journey, and you're watching the signs and seeing for yourself proof. I would say consider the possibility that there's more than what you're thinking, and then try it for yourself and see if that life is better. Because it wasn't really until I was seeing the results of spirituality, or whatever you want to call it, it wasn't until I found more happiness and joy, not fighting the past, not fighting that my mom died early, you know, and not fighting that my father died of leukemia, or that my son had autism. Once I stopped fighting reality, and I chose to actually troubleshoot the situation and do the best I could, it was only then that I realized the power of just doing rather than thinking and worrying. And this is available for any person. You know, we all have the same access to spirituality. We all have the same revenue that we were given as humans. It just looks different. Some have 2 dimes, and you have 4 nickels. But the truth is that you have what you need for happiness in all times. You have what you need as far as knowledge based on truth and whatever you're being delivered around you. And once you start to sort of wet that whistle, it's going to be something that you won't want to let go of. It's literally like spirituality at your front door. It's available. All you have to do is open the door, and it's there for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stan.
In here, there's still that one's a recovering cell. This is a sick one, a sick one, a sick one. But in general, you're in that 99 percentile range. That's like, all of them would look like this or worse for the most part. They were almost not see-through, even because of the inflammation. But basically everything else is pretty wide open. So that's what's working on the inside. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. See you Saturday.
No.
Yeah.